It was the darkest day in human history. The sky would soon turn black. The earth would tremble, and the Son of God would be nailed to a cross. But this was no ordinary execution. This was a sacrifice, a moment that would change the world forever. This is the story of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The story begins in the quiet of the night. Jesus had just finished sharing a final meal with his disciples. He knew what was coming. He knew the suffering, the pain, and the cross that awaited him. Yet he chose to walk forward. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus prayed with deep sorrow. His soul was overwhelmed. Drops of sweat fell like blood as he cried out to God. Still, he surrendered. "Not my will, but yours be done." Then suddenly, footsteps approached. A crowd appeared, armed with swords and clubs. At the front was one of his own disciples, Judas Iscariot. With a simple kiss, Judas betrayed Jesus. And just like that, the Son of God was arrested. Jesus was taken before religious leaders and falsely accused. They mocked him. They spat on him. They struck him. "Are you the Son of God?" they demanded. Jesus answered truthfully, but they refused to believe him. Soon he was brought before the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. Pilate could find no fault in him. Jesus had done nothing wrong. But the crowd was growing louder. "Crucify him," they shouted. "Crucify him." Pilate hesitated. He knew Jesus was innocent, yet fearing the crowd, he made a tragic decision. He washed his hands before them and said, "I am innocent of this man's blood." And with that, Jesus was sentenced to death. The soldiers took Jesus away. They stripped him and placed a scarlet robe on his shoulders. They twisted together a crown of thorns and pressed it into his head. Blood ran down his face. They mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Then they beat him again and again. After this, Jesus was forced to carry his own cross, a heavy wooden beam, through the streets. Weak and wounded, he stumbled under its weight. The crowds watched. Some wept. Others laughed. Many simply stood in silence. At last, they reached a place called Golgotha, the place of the skull. And there, the unthinkable happened. They laid Jesus down on the cross. Nails were driven through his hands, through his feet. With each strike of the hammer, pain echoed through his body. Then they lifted the cross and dropped it into the ground. Jesus hung there, bleeding, struggling to breathe. Above his head was a sign: Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. Two criminals were crucified beside him, one on his right and one on his left. Even then, people mocked him. "He saved others," they said, "but he cannot save himself." But in the middle of unimaginable pain, Jesus spoke words no one expected. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Hours passed. The sky grew dark. An unnatural darkness covered the land. Jesus' body weakened. Every breath became a struggle, yet even in his suffering, he showed compassion. To one of the criminals beside him who believed, Jesus said, "Today you will be with me in paradise." To his mother, he ensured she would be cared for. And then the moment came. Jesus cried out loudly, my God, why have you forsaken me?" It was the weight of the world's sin resting upon him. Then he said, "It is finished." And finally, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And with that, he breathed his last breath. At the moment Jesus died, everything changed. The earth shook violently. Rocks split apart. The veil in the temple, separating people from God, was torn in two from top to bottom. Even a Roman centurion standing nearby was stunned. He looked at Jesus and declared, "Surely this was the Son of God." As evening approached, a man named Joseph of Arimathea, courageously asked for Jesus' body. He gently took him down from the cross and wrapped him in clean linen. Jesus was laid in a tomb carved from rock. A heavy stone was rolled in front of the entrance. Guards were posted. To many, it seemed like the end. Hope was gone. Silence filled the air. But this was not the end of the story. What looked like defeat was actually victory. What looked like darkness was the beginning of light. The crucifixion of Jesus Christ was not just a moment of suffering, it was the greatest act of love the world has ever known. He chose the cross. He chose the pain. He chose to give his life for humanity. And because of that sacrifice, everything changed forever. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful Bible stories. And remember, no matter where you are in life, this story is a reminder. You are loved more than you can imagine.